You are listening to Ask An Asexual. This is part of the Ask A series, a short-run podcast dedicated to breaking myths and stereotypes by asking real people. I'm Sheena, and I'm joined today by author and podcaster Heather Rose Jones and author Alex Woods. Thank you both for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
Today we are talking about your perfect date or romantic events that you think we need more of in the world. So this is like a guide for everybody who wants to date the two of you, basically.
You think you can find this person?
Who knows?
Let's give it a shot. All right, Alex, let's start with your first one. What is your ideal date or something cool and romantic that you think is awesome?
Well, it depends on if it's the first one or if we have known each other for a while. It depends on this. If we say I know this person and we have met a couple of times, for a coffee in the village or something, because I don't have a town around me. I have a village with one food shop and one gas station in the pizza place. But let's say we like each other and something romantic starts and she knows that I'm asexual and is okay with it. I like to go on art shows on something like this. We have those around here a lot. It's everything from joik. This is our native singing voice. When we have a lot of those around here, we have photo exhibitions, we have book readings. Start with something like this and then maybe go out for a walk in the woods. And I like to have my dinner outside, actually. I'm not an eating inside person a lot. And my favorite thing is actually to have a fire outside by the lake and fry up some salmon. I have caught earlier the year some fish or some reindeer or some lamb or something. And if it's in the fall, cuddle up in your jackets and sit outside by the fire and make cooked coffee. You maybe don't know what cooked coffee is. Have you heard of it?
No.
Nope.
It's it's the only way to drink coffee.
Oh, no, let's not be, universalist here.
No,
let us allow for a range of personal experiences.
About coffee drinking. You have this traditional tin or aluminum coffee can that you put directly in the fire and heat up the water. We grind up the beans and you put it directly into the water. You cook everything up for about 10 minutes. So it's like your spoon sticks in it.
So what I would think of as Turkish coffee.
Yes, but we drink it also a very special way. The old traditional way is actually to drink coffee. You don't drink it from a mug, but you have a little plate and you drink it from a plate and you put a sugar cube in the middle of it. And the thing is, we drink it with the coffee grounds. We don't sieve it away. We drink the coffee grounds because that is the way to keep you awake for a lot of hours when you have 24 daylight in the summer. Because in the summer you don't sleep. You have 24 hours daylight.
Okay.
How physical do you get? Do you hold hands on this date? Do you just sit and talk?
Yeah, absolutely. Sitting, talking, holding hands, maybe cuddling a little bit up. Absolutely. Kissing. I have no problem with this at all. If the chemistry works, if she accepts that I'm not the person who gets down every time. For me, sleeping with a woman means something for me to show my affection for her, but I don't crave the affection back all the time. Absolutely not. And for me, it takes really a lot to get excited. It's something that does not happen very often. If it happens, it's okay. But I have to be in a very good, relaxed stage, actually, to even have the craving. But there's the thing again, where many people you date or people you like to sleep with, asexuals that are sexually activists, you don't think of the person you have sex with in a sexual way. it's not the person that gets you sexually excited. It's the act itself. And often the woman you are sleeping with gets the ego quite a bit taken down, because then they think they don't find me sexual active. Why should I be with this person if they don't even think I'm hot and they want to lay with me? So for me, it takes a lot to even think about that maybe someone you are in love with or dating and falling in love with, that they don't take it personal, because your brain just does not work in this way.
To be fair, though, I mean, when my wife and I were dating, we had like 6 months of no sex. In fact, we didn't even kiss for like 6 months because, frankly, neither of us actually understood that we were dating each other. So, but that's a whole other thing. That's a very inexperienced young lesbian kind of a thing. But having said that, I mean, we had great discussions. We spent a lot of time talking. We held hands. You know, there was that kind of physical contact. So you don't need to go from the intimate discussions and the that sort of thing straight into bed to have a really solid relationship.
But there's the problem that not many people think this way. You know the old joke, what does a lesbian bring to the third date? A U-Haul truck.
Yeah, only in my case, it was a Ryder truck that she showed up with.
You're listening to The Lesbian Talk Show. TheLesbianTalkShow.com, your hub of podcast information.
All right, Heather, so let's talk about yours.
For me, relationships are very much about making an intellectual connection. It's about exploring each other's minds and having fun trading ideas and talking about things, analyzing things. I love analyzing things. I have had some fabulously enjoyable conversations snuggling in bed talking about feminist theory as it applies to social dynamics and things like that. So, I mean, I'm okay, I'm like kind of an intellectual. And for me, making the intellectual connection, making the mind-to-mind connection, finding things that we either enjoy together or where we can feed off of each other's enjoyment of something that the other isn't familiar with, exploring ideas, books, literature, cultural experiences, talking about them and coming up with new ideas and new ways of thinking about things because the other person is there, bouncing off of you. Now, for dates, for me, the ideal date, the ideal first date is something where we are doing some sort of physical parallel play that gives us a context for tossing ideas and thoughts and stories around without it needing to be a, sitting across the table staring into each other's eyes sort of moment. I actually get really weirded out by staring into people's eyes. That's just something that I experience as an aggressive act. So the dates that involve you sitting across a coffee table and the other woman locks eyes with you, it's like, that thing that dogs do where if you stare at them, they attack? That's what I want to do. Anyway, so for me, the ideal first date is something like going on a hike in a really scenic place, and then because you're walking and you've got lots of time together, and it's kind of the same thing as being on a road trip and you just talk about everything, or going to like a museum. The woman I'm dating currently, she lives in Manhattan, and we have a lot of opportunity for walking around in Central Park and going to museums and things, and wonderful dates. So having that context where it's not just the two of you sitting there staring at each other thinking, what do I do next? What's supposed to happen here? But having an activity structure in which to get to know each other, to explore each other's personalities and personal histories and likes and dislikes, and just to have a sense of who is this person and is it somebody that I want to get closer to? So that's like, first, second date, maybe. Second date, by the second date, we should have seen a movie together because choosing a movie to see together is essential for knowing whether this is somebody you want to, keep going on with. Third date, okay, by third date, probably it's okay to get around to hand holding.
Okay, so is that the first sort of physical contact that you've made now?
So in my ideal progression, and I'm not saying that this is ever anything that has actually happened when I've dated women, my ideal progression is, you start out with hand holding, maybe you move on to kissing her hand. Then you move on to maybe regular kissing. I have to confess, kissing's never actually done anything much for me. And that gets back to the whole, well, this is what it means to be asexual, is, kissing as a social activity, yeah, sure, no problem. But as long as it's somebody I've gotten to know fairly well. But in terms of as something that does something for me physically, I've never quite figured out what's supposed to be happening. So, but on the other hand, casual physical contact, arm across the shoulders while you're watching the movie together, snuggling together on the couch while you're both working on your laptops together, that sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. But it's something I work up to. It's something where I have to build a level of trust before I can enjoy that. Now, getting back to, ideal dates, somewhere by the 4th or 5th date, I need to have cooked dinner for them. Because I love cooking, and I especially love cooking things out of my own garden and yard. So if they are not appropriately impressed with what I can put together from the things I have grown on my own property, then I'm sorry, we've got no future.
Heather, you and I are meant to be together. I'm suitably impressed by your garden every time I see it.
Like for me, a deal breaker is when they come here and they see the animals and animals make mess. And I mean, I don't live in a mansion where I have servants who help me with everything, so they can send a bucket around here and there, and maybe some hay I haven't moved out yet. And it's a deal breaker when they can't accept that, and they can't accept my animals. It's like, bye-bye.
There was this period running up to my 50th birthday where this was, mind you, before I'd figured out I was asexual. And I was just saying, it's like, it would be nice to actually have a serious girlfriend at some point in my life before I die. And I need to do something proactive about that. And I went on the OkCupid dating site and started, filling in my profile and filling in my likes and dislikes and thinking about, what are the deal breakers? What aren't the deal breakers? Like, okay, no smokers. Well, dogs. It's like, dogs, well, okay, look, I just cannot live with a dog long term. So no dogs. And you start going through all these little things that you've built up over a lifetime of experience and thinking, it's one thing to date a woman who has this feature, but could I really live with this person for the rest of my life? And you realize, doing this at nearly age 50, that suddenly you've built up an awful lot of deal breakers in your life. And that was before I had realized that sex was one of the deal breakers. Although, well, on this topic, it's interesting. OkCupid has all these little personal interest survey questions, and the more of them you fill out, the more it can tailor whether it presents your profile to other people. And I suddenly realized that there was this pattern developing, that any of the questions that had to do with what your preferences were in sexual activity, I either put like a low score on it or declined to answer them. And it was telling me that according to my profile, I was not interested in sex. And I kept thinking, no, that can't be right. It's just I feel really personal about it. It's like, no, maybe I should have been listening to OkCupid.
Did you guys have an aha moment where you were going, oh, you know what? Sex is just not for me. Like, that sounds like an aha moment.
All of my aha moments were only aha moments in retrospect. At the time, I was in denial. So at the time when I had those moments, it was like, nah, that's not the explanation. I didn't really have, when I finally said the word asexual in relation to myself, it was a slow, gradual being comfortable with saying it, and especially since that happened in the context of a specific relationship. So I felt like I'd realized something about myself that I was not aware of at the beginning of that relationship. And that made it a lot more fraught about talking about it.
Yeah, for me it was like that since I was in relationships with people who wanted to be very physical. It was more like, yeah, afterwards that I thought I could have done something better with my time, like cleaning. Why? Why do I? And it was like more gradual through when I got into my single phases that I was really happy not to be able to participate in one night stands and so on, even if my friends said, "Oh, you should go back on the horse. It's been 3 months. You need someone new." I was like, "No, I don't feel this way at all. I don't need to have one night stands. I don't need right now to date someone." And to be honest, at the time when I had 2 serious relationships, I didn't dare to say anything because they basically wouldn't understand it. And those 2 women were the kind of persons who would take it very, very personal in the way that they maybe thought that they are not sexual active to me. And that is why I don't want to sleep with them.
Heather, if you could go back in time and have your romantic date any time period ever, when would it be?
Do I have to pick only one? I mean, I want to like travel through the entirety of time.
Oh, that's a long one.
Yeah, like go on a road trip through the entirety of history. You see, questions like that always they break on the shores of my realism. It's like, what are the bathroom facilities like there? And then, but no, my ideal date in history would be kind of like, so traveling in the TARDIS, where you could just sort of pop in and out of little specific events and then visit them all. That's it. I want a TARDIS.
Female Doctor Who.
Well, there we go. In order to make Heather happy, you need to appreciate her culinary skills, her gardening skills, and have a TARDIS. I mean, that's just like a tiny little list of things.
Oh, and be a philosopher. You need to be able to hold up your own side on philosophical arguments.
I have a degree in philosophy.
I have to say, this is a funny story on myself, but the closest I ever came to feeling physically turned on with a woman was when in the middle of a heated discussion of historiography and properly sourcing your historical analysis. And I just sat there gazing in admiration and thinking, oh my God, I am feeling so hot right now. Well, it didn't go anywhere, but but I have to say that is the closest I've ever come. So, philosophy.
I actually totally relate to that. I think smart women are very, very sexy. When a woman stands up and says things that just like make my head pop, well,
Yeah, it's just that, in the aftermath of experiencing that feeling, what I wanted to do was, write a paper together.
Well, there we go. All right. I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you both for joining me on the Ask An Asexual podcast series. Now, where can people find you online? Heather, where can they find you if they want to tell you how awesome you are, read your books, or generally contact you?
The best one-stop shop is my website, alpennia.com, ALPENNIA.com. It has links to all of my social media. It has my blog. It has links to my podcast. It has the Lesbian Historic Motif Project. And it will tell you all about my books and where you can buy them. And by all means, if you drop by and visit my website, drop me a personal note. The only email I ever get through my website is like sexual spam, and that's just like insult to injury.
That's funny. Okay, Alex, if people want to contact you online, where can they get hold of you?
I start to slowly build up my Reddit profile again, where I also will drop my latest short stories. My editor still works on them because I'm very slow at writing because of life. So you can find me right now on Reddit. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter.
You have been listening to Ask An Asexual. I'm Sheena and I was joined today by Heather Rose Jones and Alex Woods. Check out the show notes to links about things discussed in this episode. If you enjoy this podcast, then come and talk to us on the Lesbian Talk Show chat group on Facebook. You can email us on podcast@thelesbiantalkshow.com or follow us on Twitter @lesbiantalkshow. You can also join our community of patrons and get exclusive content. Go to patreon.com/thelesbiantalkshow. The link is in the show notes. Find this and other exciting podcasts. All you need to do is search for The Lesbian Talk Show anywhere that you listen to podcasts.